And so I was curious too, do you see yourself automating more in the future? And I just kind of had a general question written down. I mean, right, I've heard about the robot that flips burgers, for example. I
Yeah.
mean, do you see yourself headed that in that direction? Is that an inevitability for restaurants, fast casual restaurants, or is that not really part of your ethos?
Yeah, I think it's an inevitability in certain roles in many restaurants. Let's say it that way, right? Not to say all restaurants and eventually will all be automated. No, I don't actually believe that, but I do think that where it's more efficient, where it provides consistency, where a human is not really required to do that repetitive task, and that's why Flippy for the fry robot, and he's also Chippy when he's at Chipotle frying chips. These kinds of roles, which are not, they're generally the entry level role in the business, so they're usually paid the least. They're the dirtiest, kind of less pleasant, repetitive, unskilled roles. I think automation has a big opportunity to continue to find its way, especially with labor pressures of rising wages, lack of access to skilled labor, which a lot of restaurants are looking for. At the end of the day, there is going to be automation slowly throughout the process. I was really impressed to hear that the team at Denny's corporate, they're bringing in some of those server restaurants that have been custom designed to not be server or food carrying robots to your table, but actually be bussers, right? At Denny's, those big, heavy plates. And if you order one meal at Denny's, you get like 6 or 7 plates for one meal, right? For a person. And they have those, real glassware, real silverware. That stuff gets really heavy. And so it's a safety thing, right? It's to provide a tool to the existing staff, to the stewards of the restaurant, to not be carrying those giant heavy bus tubs or big heavy trays of food. So where that robot is really doing a menial task, it's really providing some safety aspects to reduce repetitive motion and heavyweight injuries and things like that. So those are the places I think that we're seeing them get really smart. The last thing I'll say about automation and robots, which I am really excited about, is we've seen very quickly a move in the restaurant space among the distributors and manufacturers of these pieces of equipment to focus on the cleaning opportunities, right? So what can these tools do during and after open hours to provide a more hygienic, better, clean, more pleasant smelling restaurant, right? And they'll probably do a better job overall. At least where they clean, they're probably going to do a better job, a more hygienic job. And so I'm excited about that too. So there's quite a few. At Pepper Lunch, we haven't really started to dabble in that just yet. We are going to do some sort of applied robotics or applied automations in an R&D project right now with rotating kettle walks. So for our off-premise business, the idea that we can put ingredients into a rotating hot kettle that can, over 2 or 3 minutes, mix the ingredients and flavors and heat them to go into a to-go bowl. Because our to-go food, once it's put in a bowl and sent out, is essentially fried rice in a way. So we are starting a process to test that kind of equipment, but I'd say that's pseudo automation. That's really repetitive, more like manufacturing automation than true robotic or AI vision or something like that.
And have you ever thought about, right? I think I get excited about automation because theoretically it should reduce your cost overall, right? You're not paying for as many employees, and then theoretically that saving should be passed on to the consumer, and therefore you can offer a more affordable meal or whatever it is. But I always think it's interesting that in certain instances that hasn't been the case, right? If you drive a Tesla and it's covered in sensors that's supposed to keep you safer, but you do end up getting an offender bender, it's more expensive to repair everything. So your insurance cost goes up. And basically, it's doing the opposite of what it should be. I don't know if you think about that at all when you were talking about some of those automation technologies and robots, or in the service industry, in the restaurant industry, if it could actually do the opposite, right? Of this tech costs so much up front that now I'm going to have to increase the cost of lunch by 20% or whatever it is.
Yeah, in the initial rollout of some of these, the biggest consideration is uptime, consistency. Can they do the task at the same or faster speed more consistently? In a lot of cases, the answers are no. Flippy is a unique one in that they have really figured out how to make that a very reliable tool that does the job as well as a person at a fry station. And in many respects can do it better as far as more consistent on the product production. I don't know how many times you get fries at a fast food restaurant, and sometimes they're soggy, sometimes they're overcooked, those kinds of things. And Flippy can do it at about $10,000 a year less than hiring the person that does that position, than that total cost of that total position. So we take all shifts and all people added up. So in that case, the answer is yes, it works, right? It has great uptime, consistency, and it certainly doesn't call out sick and doesn't have other issues, that the human element brings. And then it actually is cheaper over a year, comparatively. So that's the test. The other part is reliability. You have to have systems and processes built. You have to have the service, the service network built out. Luckily, there's a lot of service technician businesses in the United States, particularly, that their technicians can get trained on that piece of equipment, and for a particular fee, a service fee or a warranty package fee, they can be within 30 minutes, or some of these companies are offering 20, 30, 60-minute maximum downtime, right? That the service tech can get there within a certain period of time. So those are things in the logistics chain that have to be thought through. And if you're a buyer, if you're curious as an operator or brand today, looking at those kinds of things, you really have got to press on, prove to me that this thing works. I'll give you an example. Pepper Lunch has a proprietary piece of equipment. It's an on-demand high-energy induction unit, and it was patented and created by our founder. And we have all 5 stores in the continental United States are using their original units from up to 6 years ago that have required no or very little or very infrequent servicing of any kind, and have never had to be replaced. And they're doing 380 to 480 covers a day. That's 380 to 480 times they're firing that thing a day. And it goes from 0 to a room temperature to 500 degrees in 74 seconds. So these things are getting really hot really fast and then turned off. That's the kind of thing that you have to have extra backup. We have to be able to provide a backup unit, and they plug and play. So that's good. We have to have a service network. We've got to have a company that we can call, that my operator can call, the manager on staff can call, and get up, and not impede your business. So, that's the kind of thing that, as we move more towards real robotics, especially AI driven, machine learning driven apparatuses, now you've got real computer technology that has to be maintained and up, right? Can it be hacked? Is it Wi-Fi driven? Do you have to have a separate network in your business to run that robot? Those are all considerations that operators need to think about.